Hello, everybody. Jodi Ashbrook here, and I am so excited because I have my new friend that I crossed paths with in North Carolina when I was kicking off my journey in Raleigh. Have her here with us today. Coco is joining us from the Love Lab in North Carolina. And I just immediately, when we met, we had a connection, and it was really odd how we were connected. Joe, who you grew up with, old
Mhm.
friend
Yeah.
that you went to grade school with, and you stayed connected with. I work with at Open Doors in Hingham, and was talking with Joe, and I said, Raleigh's my first stop on my journey, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I have to connect you. I have to connect you with somebody. I have to connect you with Coco." I said, "Okay, yeah, that'd be great." And I am forever grateful that she
Mhm.
connected us because, it's they say the people that are meant to be in your space and that you're meant to cross paths with, the universe will put them right in your lap. And I feel like that's really what happened with us. And thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for
Pleasure.
chatting with me. And I would love for you to share more with everybody, and that's part of why we're really having this conversation today. Is I think your story and your message and what you do with the Love Lab, and the group work that you do is so powerful and so meaningful.
Mhm.
And I wanted to bring a piece of you to the world virtually so everybody could have a piece of you and a piece of the Love Lab. And so, can you just share a little bit about you and how you got started on your journey just
Mhm.
to exploring yourself and wellness and just and really your path that brought you to where you are today, sharing a little bit of that with us.
I'd love to. And thanks for having me here. It's so exciting and it's wonderful to be with you. I just enjoy every time we get together. So I live in Durham, North Carolina, and I live with my husband, Noah, who I have been married for 25 years and almost together for 30. So this long-term relationship that has been a huge part of who I've become and how I've been able to explore relationship with myself and with an intimate partner. And we have an 18-year-old daughter together, Tahila, and she's going off to college in the fall. So I feel like I'm in a big transition time in terms of my own personal growth and just saying what's next, because I've been so much of who I am, and where I've put my energy is into my parenting. At the same time, I've always been, I guess since I was really young, I grew up in the North. I was raised Catholic, got lots of messages about being in a body in general and in a woman's body, the danger of that, uh, the non-spiritual aspect of that. And that was always really uncomfortable and brought a lot of pain and suffering, because here I am in this body. And, aside from not being in, I didn't know what to do. So I think that was really part of what prompted me to start to be in a discovery process of how do I be the spiritual person that I know I am, and I have a lot of comfort with that, but also the human part. Like, can I find some love and acceptance for this human part, including my body, but also all the other pieces of me that in messaging we get in our culture and families, schools, that there are certain parts of us that are lovable and certain parts that aren't. And so in my younger life, it was all about, well, trying to figure out what was acceptable and what was not so that I could feel a sense of love and acceptance and belonging. But doing that, I realized I was creating a gap between what was really going on inside of me and what I was showing. And it was lonely. So I kind of, from really young, I thought, how can I suffer less here in this earth life? And part of sort of roping certain parts of myself off to kind of keep them at bay, there was the critical one in me that would sort of remind me of who I should be and who I shouldn't be. So I started exploring. I did a lot of books and really kind of solo discovery. And it was wonderful. And I learned a lot. I learned that, really I wasn't so alone in this
Mm-hmm.
situation of suffering, of wanting to belong, but wanting to be really me, but not feeling like there are parts of me that I can really show the world. And then I've got this body thing. Um, but it was about a little over 10 years ago that I had a wonderful experience of being with my cousin, actually, in her intimate group of friends the weekend before she got married. And we did ritual and we sang and we cooked and we danced and we just were in nature and all together. And it was really about preparing her for this next chapter in her life. And yet, the safety that was created in this group of women allowed, it seemed to me, all of us to really be exactly where we were, who we were in that moment, all across the weekend. And we all felt an incredible connection and ease and freedom, and nourishment by the end of that weekend. And I felt certainly like I need more of this. So I came home and I decided I'm going to start a women's group. And I just put out a flyer and I called together this amazing group of women. I think there were 12 of us at the beginning, and it went for some years, a weekly group where pretty much I would just bring whatever I was learning about and discovering in the world, and we would have discussion and process and activities, and it was just really fun. And I know that my training is as a teacher, and so I love to share what feels good to me and what helps me to be, more myself, more joyful, more alive in the world. And so that's really where this path started that brought me to the Love Lab, is doing this group work, some one-on-one work sprang off of that. Um, and I've really come to see that part of being all of me in the world means being in relationship with myself in a loving way, but also in the presence of others and with others and receiving others as well, that relationship piece. So I'm really loving group work these days. I think for myself, the pace of opening and expanding and being present and accepting myself, the pace is so much faster in a group. So the Love Lab is a safe space for people to come and really get in, like, slow down enough to feel, get in contact with themselves. It's safe enough to bring what we don't want anyone to know about us out,
Yeah.
letting go of shame, and being witnessed in a loving space. And so much connection and intimacy and peace comes from that in my experience. So yeah, so
So, so much I want to ask about. I feel
that's
like
sort of like a
everything first off, a comment and then a question. So my comment is, I think at whatever level anybody who's watching this could say, or it resonates with the sense of belonging,
yeah,
wanting to feel accepted, maybe not feeling completely okay with your body physically, or having shame or guilt that you carry for whatever reason.
yeah,
Which all stems from and starts to make you question your sense of worthiness, your value.
yeah.
That plays a role in your self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
That then in turn impacts your quality of life, because
Yes.
if you don't feel confident to take the steps to create what you want to create with your life, you're going to be probably, and I'm just making assumptions here, living a life that isn't fulfilling, but it's
Yes. Yeah.
safe because it doesn't require you to open up or
Mm-hmm.
go through that hard um, work with yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
more importantly, drop the guard to say, you know what, I'm I'm good. Like I'm not as bad as I'm making myself out to be because it's all really self-inflicted, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
here's my question. So that was a long comment, but here's my question. You mentioned one of the questions that you asked yourself, which kind of inspired this motivation to do more and create the Love Lab and explore more about yourself
Mhm.
was how can I suffer less?
Yeah. Yes.
So my question to you is for people who are watching this that get that, like that question, that resonated immediately with me when you said it. I know it probably
Mhm.
resonates with everybody else. Can you connect the dots for us on day to day? What does that suffering look and feel like? So someone can go, yep,
Yeah.
that's it. That's it. So
Yeah.
can you, what does that look and feel like day to
Yeah,
day?
well, my particular version of suffering. I mean, there's lots of different flavors day to day, but it would be sort of this background voice in my head that would just be not so satisfied with anything. Like, oh gosh, my pants are don't look the way I want them to look on me, or why haven't I already done X, Y, and Z? Everybody else in the world seems to know what they're doing, and why am I not? Or it would be like something would happen with another person and I would have a feeling of upset, but instead of saying, wow, that really hurt, or I just, I don't know what to say because my heart is really hurting in this moment, I would try to manage it. I would try to not show that I was upset or hurt. And there could be whole internal conversations like that, like, oh, if I show that I'm hurt, then maybe there will be conflict and then maybe they won't like me, and it's like all goes back to, am I okay, do I belong, am I lovable? And
Yeah.
so just the emotions, the experiences that I would just manage and push down. And yet, if my heart is hurting and I'm trying to manage over that, that's hard. It takes a lot of energy. I feel a little bit out. I'm not really engaged because I'm holding back. I'm withholding from myself and other. So it's lonely. It's so that the criticism, the managing, coping. It's like, wow, I just want to live. I just want to live and enjoy and connect. Um, so yeah, so kind of unwinding some of that conditioning, some of those patterns that have me acting in a certain way to protect myself. I really do believe, in my experience anyway, there is no part of me that's against me. I'm not a big believer in self sabotage. Like there's some part of me that's trying to mess everything up. I do believe that there are parts of me that have been conditioned to believe certain things will help me stay safe in the world. And so that can be the critical voice, that says, don't do that, don't say that. Oh my gosh, she's not going to like you. She's going to think this about you. Don't do this, and it seems like that might be a self-sabotage voice, but when I really, and what I've come to learn how to do is to turn toward that part of myself and see it for the worried one in me that it is. This one's worried. She's just trying to keep me in line so I'll be loved, and it's kind of poignant when I turn toward even the part of myself that can be critical with love. I think that's, for me, that's a really, that's a it's a shortcut. It feels like a real quick way to cultivating some compassion to myself, to realize that. So yeah, so that suffering, that internal suffering, and just feeling really isolated. And what's wrong with me? Why can't I figure it out? Why can't I? Um,
And it's so, and I love what you said about it becomes such a conditioned behavior.
yeah.
I'm and in Washington D.C. at a conference this week, and it's funny that you say the internal voice saying, "Oh, I shouldn't say that," or "I shouldn't ask that question." That popped up a couple times for me.
Mhm.
I know it happens with other people in the room.
Mhm.
I presented yesterday in a session, and I try to get really interactive with people and say, "Well, what do
Mhm.
you think about this?" And I mean, it's like pulling teeth to get people to speak. I think that's one example of the fear of, if I say something, is it right? Is
Right.
it, how am I going to be, am I going to make anybody mad? But
Mhm.
it's more like you said, that hesitancy to speak or put
Mhm.
or move past whatever that voice is, because it keeps you safe. It keeps you in
Yeah.
the space.
Yeah.
I love how you frame that, because I think the other example that you gave of, I don't like how these pants fit,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
it just, those conditioned patterns and
Mhm.
voices, um, they become so day to day and so
Mhm.
normal to our being,
Yes.
that we really don't realize how much we are suffering, because we
Mhm.
just feel like it's a part of us.
Exactly.
So my question to you, following up on that, is these conditioned patterns and behaviors that really have become part of who we are, that
Mhm.
keep us safe. But safety doesn't necessarily, we know intuitively it doesn't feel good, but we also don't know how any other way.
Mhm.
What is step, like, if someone's watching this and they're going, yeah, I say that to myself all the time. I
Mhm.
find things are
Mhm.
right. I don't like the way this looks. I don't speak up in meetings because I don't want to sound stupid, or whatever
Mhm.
it is, right?
Yeah.
What is step one?
That's a great question. And I guess I would have to say, be like, what I love that you pointed out was that when it's a daily thing, it feels like it's who we are. It feels like, well, that's just me. And in my experience, the truth is that at that moment, and it might be many moments through the day, I'm all it is that I'm identified with that particular part of myself.
Mm.
I'm not in the big me when I'm thinking my pants are too tight. Because if I'm in the big me, like right now, like ah, when I feel that expansive me, that compassion that can hold anything that arises, I am really okay. Like I can feel my goodness. So in the days where it's, the pants are too tight and why did I say that and why, I shouldn't say this, it's that I'm identified with that one in me who's critical and really scared. And because I'm identified with it, I can't see the difference between it and all of me. Like I'm just in it. It's kind of like being in a pool as opposed to sitting on the edge of the pool and being able to see the pool. So I think for me, the first step really is to start to be able to notice when I hear that voice, my pants feel so tight today. Um, I start to notice. And that's like a muscle that is like you go to the gym to build muscle. This is a muscle of, oh, look at there that is again. Okay, I'm noticing. And then sometimes I do a language translation. I'm noticing a part of me is feeling uncomfortable in my jeans. Or I notice a part of me is saying, you're too fat, whatever the message is. And once I say, I'm noticing a part of me, all of a sudden I've zoomed out a little bit and I can see that, yeah, it's a part of me that's really not so happy in this moment. And then that gives me the opportunity to make some space for that and to be with that. And that's a practice because it's not easy to be with a part that we feel has been beating us up for our whole lives and has been standing in the way and feels like an obstacle to our happiness and our joy. But I think that first step is to start to notice, because that's the thing that starts to break up the complete identification with with this suffering.
So step one is paying attention
Yeah,
to
yeah,
the patterns, if you
yeah,
will, the
yeah,
thought,
yep.
the behavior. So it could be something that maybe you find yourself saying to yourself over and over again, or that voice starts to
Mhm.
come in. Or might it be something, might it be a behavior that you actually do?
Yeah,
Could
yeah,
that be possible? So what would that look like?
yeah. So let's see. I would say, hmm, say, trying to think of a good example. Um, Yeah, and some of them are so like even my own are so like patterned that it's hard to pick them out. But um, well, I mean, just even saying yes to things, right? So I get a email from somebody saying, can you come to this event? Or I'd really and my week and my life is feeling very full, and I'm already trying to find ways to take care of myself while I take care of everyone else. And that is a pattern also. So I'm actually really tracking that now in my current life. But that impulse to say yes and just take on more, even though there's a part of me that knows, like, I really don't, it's not a joyful yes. It's not a full body yes. But that override of the feeling of I don't think so, because I have the reasoning, well, they did come to my thing, or like all the rationalizations of why it should be a yes. So that would be an actual, like, action. Yes, I'll come, that I've started to notice in myself. That was a quick yes, and I don't feel it in my whole body. So let me just take a moment and sit with this. Like, what am I afraid of if I say no? What, and just sort of, but it's the awareness of that little paying attention, as you said, and the awareness that then opens the door for the possibility of inquiry and change, really.
Yeah.
And change through a place of self-loving, because one of the things that I know in this, and I'm sure you've met up with this too, and because we share these similar worlds of growing and learning and discovering, is that there can be and this idea of changing because I'm not enough, and I'm not, like, the impulse to change and is authentic, and there's a desire not to suffer, but the way it's approached, it can be through, like, I need to get, I need to lose weight, I need to be more aware, I need to do these practices, I need to do this so that I can be better.
Yeah.
And I'm really finding for myself that the changes that I've made that have been sustainable really come from a place of loving myself and accepting myself, even if there are parts of me that I'm not, like, woohoo, they're not. It's like, oh, can I go from this place of just caring for myself like I do so well for other people.
Which is a whole other
Oh
episode
yeah.
in
Yes,
itself.
exactly.
And we make it sound easy, but I think and I know, and everybody else watching this is going, yeah, I don't know about loving myself. I'm just not
Hmm.
sure about that. And or some people might be going, yeah, I love myself.
Yeah.
I don't have
Yeah.
a problem,
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
but I think if we break this down, what I love what you said about how do I suffer less? Okay, well, what does suffering look like? That looks
Hmm.
like the voice that comes in, that looks
Yeah.
like different behaviors, your
Yeah.
example of the genes, your example of
Yeah.
saying yes. Um, and then I also love what you said about um, when you use the example of when you say yes to things, overriding the voice
Yeah.
that's really saying no and
Yes.
rationalizing it with, well, I should because of, and then your question of, well, why am I afraid to say no? Maybe that's a better question is there's something in me that's not a full
Hmm.
yes, I'm in 5,000%.
Hmm.
So let me stop there and go, okay, what is that about?
Hmm.
And if I do I really want to say no, or is it hesitation for a different reason? So even just
Right.
stopping the brain to say, is it that I want to say no, or is it something else?
Yes.
But that all comes down to the root of that self-awareness that you're
Yeah.
talking about with.
Yep. That self-awareness.
So step
Exactly.
one to all of it is
Yeah.
just paying attention to what happens. What do you say to yourself?
Hmm.
What do you say out loud?
Yes.
What do you do? How do you
Hmm.
respond?
Hmm.
That alone is a muscle that you're building on its own, just paying attention to what you do. I mean,
Yes.
as you said, it's so conditioned.
Yes.
We just move throughout the world, and
You. Yeah.
that's who we think we are. And
Yeah.
so I think that's a great place to kind of package the wisdom and the love and everything that
Hmm.
you brought today and just say, here's this nice, neat little package. Step one is just start paying attention to
Yeah.
you. All this attention that we give to everything outside of us, right?
Yes. Yes.
You,
Yes.
everybody's waiting on the next headline to come through, the next thing on the
Mhm.
news, the next thing in the paper, social
Yeah.
media. Like, take some of that energy and
Hmm.
inward
Yes.
to pay attention to you.
Exactly. Exactly. And I love the way you wrap that up. I love how your mind works, Judy. It's just so beautiful to be able to speak, and then it's like you're a weaver, just weaving it
Oh,
together so beautifully. But oh, and in saying that, I lost my yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned like we're paying attention outside and we're running around, and I think that's part of it too, is that we can have this fast pace in the world, and there's so much information coming at us. There's so many people that we may be involved with in our lives. There's so much stimulation that it can be really hard to feel ourselves.
yeah,
It just really can be. So in turning the attention, as you said, onto ourselves, there's one a little bit of slowing down that is important, that makes it a little easier. At the same time, I will say that in feeling and in turning the attention onto ourselves, we are going to come it's like we are going to come across things that may not feel good in the moment on the way to more openness and joy. Because when we're so busy, when we're so externally focused, when we're not feeling, we not only don't get to feel the joy and the bliss of being fully alive and fully in touch and like doing our longings in the world, but we also cut off, we numb a little to the pain. So
yeah,
there is the suffering that we're trying to get away from, but in fact, this turning in, we're gonna meet up with all of it. And so I just want to say that it's real, like the compassion piece is really important too, as we turn our attention in, to find compassion, to come in, to find people who resonate with us, to hold space for us while we do that, to find communities that support us going in and tending to ourselves and loving ourselves as best we can. And it helps to have a community that creates a field of love around us, even one other person. Just, I mean, even sitting here with you and your beautiful responsiveness to me and that smile, and you're nodding your head and you're responding, it feels so good to me. It feels like here I am, I'm sharing my heart, I'm being vulnerable to a degree. I've never done this before. So I can notice all sorts of things running in my mind right now, like, am I doing okay? But being in your presence, in your loving presence, you know, all of a sudden it feels really good to share.
yeah.
Really good. Really good to meet the places in me that might be a little afraid or might be worried, or but are also really excited. So,
Well, and I think that's a perfect takeaway. It's like one, so we talk about being self-aware.
mhm.
That was the step one. But then two, it's you're gonna you're gonna run into some stuff that it's
Yeah,
not gonna be like, oh, this is a party.
right,
It's
right.
gonna be, we know what fear feels like. We know what uncomfortable feelings
Mhm.
come up with that, right?
Yeah,
So just expecting it's not all rainbows and butterflies. Like
right.
there are gonna be some things you're gonna cross paths with, but that's okay. All the
Yeah.
more reason, to your third point, of find people in your space that you can trust to share with. And you know what? If you don't feel like you have that or you're ready,
Mhm.
then the notepad and pen,
Yep, exactly.
my trusting resource for
Mhm.
probably 5 or 6 years.
Yes.
I was
Yeah.
going through this space of, I can't tell people what I'm thinking.
Mhm.
I can't share this with anybody. They're gonna think I'm nuts.
Mhm.
So it's like, but you have to go through all of that stuff somewhere. You
Yes.
have to get it out. So
Yeah.
if it's not a person that you feel like you have,
Mhm.
or a network of people, then let it be a book.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yes. Yes, indeed.
So
Yeah.
love this conversation. We have to do step two, phase two. Again, I feel like, and I knew this immediately, the work that you do and the way that you talk about the space that I created for you. I think
Mhm.
you create that safe space for people with just your presence.
Mm.
Whether it's virtually like this or face to face, I think you talk about making it okay to open up and share, and I think that's what you create for people. And I'm so glad that you moved past your own emotions and feelings with this, and you're able to bring more of you to the world, because this
Mhm.
is a message that is so, it's so real and it's so common, but more importantly, it's extremely powerful in helping people to create the life that they want or keep them from creating the life that they
Yes.
want.
Yes.
And I would love to continue our conversations. I mean, I think everything that we talked about here today is, again, is so, it's real life. And everybody can relate. It doesn't matter what you do, where you're from, anything, what age. Like, we can all
Mhm.
relate to what we talked about here today. And so, thank you for being
Mhm.
willing to share and open up your spirit and a part of you and your heart with the world. And I hope you'll continue to do it. I know I want to continue to have conversations like
Me too.
this.
This is
um,
really fun.
if people wanted to learn more
Mhm.
about you, your work, or connect with you, where would they go?
I have a website called thelovelabnc.com. So you can go there and check out, there's some about me, there's a little bit of just my perspective on things and some offerings that will be coming up in the fall. So and through the website you can email me, and you'll see offerings for groups online and in person, and one-on-ones, and then groups that have particular themes and topics to them. So yes, I totally enjoy corresponding and connecting with people. So please look me up if you're interested. And it's just been so wonderful to be here with you, Jodi, and I really look forward to our next conversation.
Good, good. I do too. I do too. It'll have to be maybe in August sometime, which is
Yep,
right around the corner. I can't
sounds
believe it,
great.
but it's here. So, you can subscribe to Inspire Me TV at jodiashbrook.com. Again, the purpose of these conversations is to be inspired and inspire others. And
Mm,
hopefully, you got some of that today from learning from Coco from the Love Lab. So, thank you again for being here. I'm taking away some things that I'm going to put in my back pocket from this conversation. So, thank you very much.
my
And we
pleasure.
will talk again very soon, I have no doubt.
Yep.
And I would love your feedback from those of you that are watching, thoughts, feedback, additional questions, or maybe even some ideas that you'd want to hear more of on our next segment. So thank you all for watching. Thank you, Coco, and we will talk again very soon.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.